I'm not gonna lie, sometimes the easiest way to get me to try a new brand is to color it green and give me some sandpaper. I'm gonna be honest, this pen is such a departure for me that I was kind of perplexed on what to use for a cold open on this video. That said, today's pen is both green, and it does include sandpaper in the box. We'll get to that later. For now though, let's hit the briefest of overviews and then get to the pen so I don't have to uncheck that box for mid-roll ads. YStudio is a relatively small stationery company based in Taiwan that is attempting to secure their long-term foothold against heavy hitters like Sailor and Pilot by bringing ambitious design aesthetic. We'll take a look at that a little bit later when we get into this pen, but before that, let's take a look at their interpretation of elegant packaging. To be honest, while I like the simplicity of the gold print on the back background, and while I'm on board with the simple label on the back corner that gives the company information, I really have one question. Why is this box so big? I mean, here's the pen. Notice how much bigger this box is than the pen. Take the utilitarian nature of the pen and transfer it to the size of the box. I use this. I stack this in a cupboard. Moving past my new soapbox of oversized boxes, let's take a look at this inner box and then what's inside. The inner box is a rather simple design, displaying the company's brand refresh in the Ku Mincho font face and their simplified English setting. The top lifts off rather easy and reveals a foam block affixed to the inner lid, and below that, we've got the fold-out pamphlet containing a brief brand introduction, if I can actually get that out, and their reason for using brass, copper in their pen bodies, how to scuff up the brass with the included 600 grit sandpaper, and the normal care, use, and warranty information that we've come to expect. And yes, you heard that right, this is a sheet of 600 grit sandpaper. And I quote, "They use this to create a personalized brassing effect by removing the lacquer on the surface." That little excerpt has me, kind of actually liking this brand already. It does go on to say that the lacquer on the pen won't be removed by normal wear and tear though, so time will tell how true that comes to be. With this particular pen being a hex tube, I mean, I don't know. It is a solid chunk of brass and copper, so I think it's gonna be fine. So anyways, below that, we have one last thing to look at. When you get the pen, you're gonna find that it comes in the box, kind of looking like that, but where the cartridge is right here, that's gonna be the converter. You'll see the converter later on. Anyways, one last gripe, and then we'll start looking at the pen. This box, this inner padding, look how thick it is. Why? Just why? I don't get it. Anyways, we're gonna move on, take a look at the pen, and do some size comparisons so you can get an idea of whether or not this would be a pen for you. So now that I've got the box stored away in the cupboard with all the other boxes, let's cover the elephant in the room that needs to be stated up front. Unlike resin pens from brands like Sailor and Pilot, or the aluminum or lighter metal pens from brands like Keras, this pen is a metal tube that has been shaped in such a way to keep the hexagonal body. So it's going to be a chonker. Actually, let's cover that aspect of the pen first. To get an idea for the size and chonk of this pen, let's use my favorite yardstick, the Sailor 1911 Large Stormy Seas. Capped, they're pretty close in length, with the YStudio Classic coming in at 138mm to the Sailor's 140mm. The Classic, however, is 22 grams heavier than the 1911, sitting at a hefty 46 grams. Uncapping the pen, the YStudio is now 2mm longer than the 1911 at 125mm with a 15-gram lead at 31 grams. The section is also fairly interesting when compared to the 1911, with a thread to flare of 26mm and a section width of 8mm. So overall, this is a very substantial pen. I will say though, once we get this one in hand, I like the craftsmanship that's on display. The lacquer has a nice texture to it and allows the brass backing of YStudio to pop from this forest grain. I don't think I'm going to be taking the sandpaper to it anytime soon, so any battle scars are going to be from normal wear and tear, which, you come to expect that, and I think on this pen, it'll probably handle it better. than some of the resin pens that I've had. Anyways, another good feature about this pen is the cap mechanism. With the body being hexagonal shaped, I mean, a twist cap would have to be threaded perfect for the facets to line up when closed each and every time. So what YStudio did here was to make the cap a very secure snap cap that allows for OCD people like myself to get the angle right every time. For this pen, I definitely prefer that capping mechanism. Now, removing the cap reveals a steel Schmidt medium nib against the brass section. The section has a nice taper to it, and even though it is rather long and narrow, I find it rather comfortable, and it managed to pass the 1-hour writing test. That already helps it earn a place in my pen case. Removing the section, we are greeted with a YStudio logoed converter that also has a little bit of a copper brass look to it. And I like this touch that the converter sank firmly into place here when I installed it. There are a few brands where the converter seems to have some play to it, and I don't find that comforting. But let's go ahead, get the pen put back together, and take a look at how this medium nib actually writes. So one thing you won't be doing with this pen is posting it. With the body design and the way the snap cap is done, posting just isn't a thing with this pen. And honestly, it doesn't need it. The weight on this pen is substantial, and it also manages to feel fairly well balanced. If the pen were any longer than it is, I would probably find it back heavy, causing the nib to lift away from the page without compensating in the grip. As it is, the nib makes consistent contact with the page, and the overall body length fits quite well with my medium-sized hand. Speaking of this nib, this Schmidt nib is smooth while also providing a subtle yet pleasing feedback. The feed is providing ample flow to this slightly dry Diamine Burgundy Royale, and everything was perfect out of the box. There have been no hard starts, no indication of baby's bottom, and I find this nib to have a good soft counterbalance to the substantial nature of the pen body. Could I see myself using this pen on a regular basis? Yes. Do I see myself being able to write with it for long stretches? Also yes. And that is saying something for a pen that is double the weight, almost, of a 1911 large. And that's going to do it for our look at the YStudio Classic. This pen was provided for review by Chalet, so a big thank you to them for introducing me to this brand and having a green medium in stock. If you like the video, then hit that thumbs up button. If you want to give these pens a shot, then head on over to Chalet using the link down below. Most importantly, if you want to help the channel and, support the Dog Treat Fund, and you like getting videos and podcasts early, then click on that Patreon link down below as well. Till next video, don't drink the ink.